Well, not
Gotta show
everybody.
those
I knew stage direction unless
They
I
never
had
get
to
to
turn
see
my
it,
back.
right?
Yeah. We gotta show them what we're packing.
Yeah.
Non-theater kids don't get it.
I was a theater kid. I was in Wizard of Oz.
To tell you the balance.
Who were you?
And I was Sebastian in The Little Mermaid
So-
with this accent.
So what's your...
Perfect.
Yeah, that makes sense. They'd whitewash them. Typical Disney move. Yeah.
Wet wash.
Wet wash.
Wet wipe them.
They felt like they had to
Dude, wipe them.
They felt like they had to really reverse the script.
Sponsor us.
Yeah.
Never mind. I'm not gonna finish
Anyways,
that.
welcome to a incredibly put off episode of the F Movie Podcast. We're your hosts, Nathan, Dillon, Mason, and Price. Today, hold on.
Nice. That was good.
Yeah, no, it's in order. Hold on. Yeah. Annabeth,
What?
you good?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You good?
Yeah, am I making too much noise? Can I?
Listen, this is
can
about
I
to be
bring
a
some
riveting.
bacon for like 30 seconds?
Did you say bacon?
Yeah, bacon.
For 30 seconds?
Oh, you're microwaving.
That's not...
So for real, it will only take 30 seconds.
That doesn't...
That won't
doesn't
cook
take
bacon.
long enough.
It's already cooked. You just have to
She's
heat it
about to
up.
find a problem when she opens that microwave. Oh no, is there a cat in there?
Oh, we're gonna have to restart. Like this is already.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
That intro's already a wash.
Cut it.
I didn't think you could
It's already a
hear
wet
me.
wipe.
This
That's
could,
fine. Nathan will just put that beep.
this could be a
Little
bonus.
scratch.
This could be a.
Wow,
This could
there's
be.
bugs in the microwave, man.
This could be a bonus feature on our Patreon.
Yeah, if you like all of our extras, make sure to subscribe to our Patreon.
There's bugs in the microwave.
We put out this content every Wednesday.
Yeah.
There's bugs in the microwave.
Well, you know, we originally were the FN Movie Podcast. That was a Friday.
Yeah, we
Then
do-
we tried
do
moving to
post on-
Sunday.
No, we
We
post
post
on
on
Fridays.
Fridays, though.
Oh yeah, we post on
But
Friday.
for Patreon, they get it 2 days early. Don't you understand?
Oh yeah.
Haven't you subscribed to it?
This guy.
No, I created it.
Amateur.
Rookie, yeah. Horse over here. Do you even Patreon?
Oh, we don't use Patreon. We use OnlyFans.
That's true.
You're right. We keep switching platforms. It's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, we always stay on top of whatever platforms we're using, but we miss our subs every single time. We have money in...
It's like in Parks and Rec with the band names. Like no one can really keep track.
Yeah,
of
that's-
Chris Pratt's band name.
It's gone over through so many iterations now.
What did they land on though?
I don't know. Mouse Rat again?
Mouse Rat.
Did they really?
Yeah.
That was their first one, or one of their first few.
Yeah.
They might up going back to it.
Okay.
Are there bugs in that bacon?
No, just.
Is there bacon in that, Bugs?
It's
Yeah.
extra protein.
Yeah.
Anyways, hey Beth, you done?
Hang on. I want to close the trash can. Okay, now I'm done.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and introduce it again, Dylan.
Okay, can I get a 3, 2, 1? Thanks. Welcome again to the FM Movie Podcast.
This isn't again. This is the first time.
Yeah.
You're right. We would... Cut it. Just cut this out.
Beep.
Alright. Beep. 3, 2, 1. Welcome! Well, you can't just interrupt when I'm doing it.
Beep.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That was really loud.
Watch that head, man.
Alright, big head. Can you
I'm
chill?
dying here.
Welcome to still the FM Movie Podcast. We're your hosts, Nathan, Dillon, Mason, Price, in that order. Hey, yeah, okay. That was really quick. I didn't think I was going to get that one right. Today's episode, we're talking about podcasts. We're talking about Possum. That one's fair. That
Yeah.
one's fair.
Yeah. That was
All
close.
right.
Mason, what's Possum about?
Possum's just this little ditty about a guy who
Ditty?
has a... Oh, is he still relevant?
Diddle.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This might age wrong. We'll see.
It's about a guy who has some childhood trauma that has basically a puppet that he totes around, and I don't know, he just keeps walking around touring the town that has approximately 6 people in it for no real good reason. He ends up staying at his house with his...
It's his house.
It is his house, and they keep saying that it is his house.
Yeah.
And a kid had been kidnapped.
Yeah.
Yes, and his,
Yeah,
I guess,
shortly
uncle,
into his returning
stepfather.
to town, a kid has gone missing, has presumably been kidnapped. Much of what I presume the director and writer wants you to be dwelling on here is whether or not he took this kid, and also like whether or not Maurice is a real person who is his uncle that has been living in his parents' house while he's been gone up until the point that he returns, and Maurice just basically keeps like giving him shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agonizing him, like,
Yeah.
or
Spanking him a little bit.
antagonizing him because he's
Well,
just...
But we don't see that till the end. Yeah,
Yeah.
minor spoiler. Yeah, and it's shot in a way that gives you that unreliable narrator perspective where it's You're not really sure what's happening, what's not happening, if something happened before and they're showing
When
us
things
now.
are happening.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that in play. It's kind of like it's like the first half of Heavy Rain where it plays that idea of
Jason.
Jason, a kid disappears and you're wondering what happened, and then you're like, oh, who did it? And you're like, did one of these characters do it? It'd be weird if they didn't, because we're spending a lot of time with them, and then you find out, which is this movie. So yeah, this is a lot like Heavy Rain in that way.
This movie reminded me a lot of Under the Skin. Has anybody seen
Yeah,
that?
I've only seen parts of
Scarlett
it.
Johansson.
Yeah, I've seen
Nope.
that one. I've seen the new.
Ghost in the
and
Shell?
what I mean by that is that this movie is very slow, doesn't really ever say a whole lot, leaves you confused almost the entire time. That's
That's a lot of what
Under the
this movie
Skin
is.
is the same vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You watch it to see ScarJo naked.
I don't even remember. Yeah,
I
I
do.
guess so.
I always do.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're also just forgetting the fact that there's this. You know about the writer and the director. This puppet, if they keep calling it Possum. There has a whole little
It's
book
the
written about
creepiest little
it.
fucking puppet.
As a
Yeah.
kid, our main character wrote and
This-
drew a
this dark-
disturbing little song and
Children's
art,
story.
like
Illustrated.
children's art book about his puppet, which is, we haven't really delved
we haven't
into
touched
what
that.
this puppet is. It's pretty disturbing. It's like just a very pale looking human head on a torso that has 8
spider
clearly
legs.
spider limb, like hairy spider limbs,
Like tarantula
dangling
limbs.
off of it.
Yeah.
And these spider limbs are like probably 5 feet long or something.
I was gonna say, and they are life size.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
You know the
Life size? I
what-
think life size would be quite small.
right.
I
What's
see
the
what-
what's that toy from Toy Story 1 in Sid's room?
Oh yeah,
baby
that's-
face,
yeah,
the baby
doll
is
head.
the
It's-
erector set.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the baby
Be
head
honest,
on the spider body.
That one to me was scarier than this one. Like this one.
Yeah, I watched.
Yeah, I know.
So I felt like I needed to try and see if there's some extra context or something that I was missing with this film. So I
My
did watch
man.
like a little bit of people like discussing it,
Mm-hmm.
and man, there's a lot of people that think a lot higher of this movie.
Yes,
than
they
I think
are.
makes
No, I
sense.
saw the Rotten
Couldn't be
Tomatoes
us.
score, and I am blown
Yeah.
away.
Critics just like different guys. You just have to understand.
One of them was talking about how scary the doll was and how like unnerving every time you see it is.
Well-
Like, are you kidding me?
So,
Yeah.
Like it looks so goofy.
if I was to praise this movie at any point in this
Uh-huh.
review, it is because the way that they do these like edited clips and like these like cut shots of like it being kind of sort of creepy, I do think that they did that well. They didn't show this thing right away. But annoyingly they just kept showing a little bit more each time. It was like, oh, here's my hand.
Mhm.
Here's my
Here's
my
the whole-
forearm of my
yeah.
hand. Here's my whole arm.
There's one point on the
Like-
bed where he pushes it off and you see just a little bit of
Yeah,
the
and you think it's like a skeleton because you don't
Yeah.
know any better. Anyways, they do those fairly well where they introduce this thing
they don't show the monster
so
right
slowly,
away.
but it only just matches the tempo of the movie at that point, so it's not.
I think that we're talking too much about the importance of the puppet when I don't feel like the puppet is important at all. I think
I mean,
this.
it's the.
I think this.
it's
The story is
Remember that?
is basically about this guy repressing his childhood trauma and then overcoming it,
Yeah.
and it's kind of manifesting through this puppet. But like the puppet isn't necessary; it's
The
just like a
puppet is this movie, though.
symbolic kind of thing. And if and they're saying the puppet is the movie, this movie has nothing to it.
I
It is
agree.
an hour and a half of bland nothingness.
I agree.
It's just shots that linger for so long. And if anybody says this movie is anything but the most ginormous fat movie they've ever seen,
Then
you will
they're a liar.
you will get a smack on the foot from me because there are so many there are so many
Do it, coward.
Do it.
there's so many scenes where it's just him just like looking at like the water or something and it just sits there for the longest time. Yeah, with
Yeah.
this.
He's got such a sourpuss face as an adult, right? Like
He's got the biggest scowl.
He's got the ability to have a frown that actually goes off of his
Yes,
face.
Yeah,
it is
it does.
so long.
this is something only the British could accomplish. I'm convinced. Like
Now the only thing I really liked about this is that the atmosphere I thought was like
Match
sufficiently
tone.
creepy. Like I think it was like it just felt like something bad was under the surface, and I like the main actor. I think he did well.
yeah,
with
I think he conveys
what he
the
was
tone.
given.
Right. I think it's less so. I think it's less so like a creepy tone and more so it's like unsettled is the word I would use for it. Right.
Mhm.
It feels very specifically like it doesn't want you to ever feel comfortable, both in the sense of, oh, I'm watching a movie at home and I feel, like it wants you to feel tense. It wants you to feel a little. It has that thrillery score that feels that very sharp, that like knife screeching. It has that in all those situations. But then there's never really a payoff.
No.
It's like
you're waiting for the shoe to drop,
and the shoe never.
And if you
and
want
the
to
shoes are
consider
still
the
in the box
shoe,
at the store.
If you consider the shoe dropping at any moment, it's in the last 6 minutes, which we'll talk about here.
Which
in a little
it
bit.
races through the whole movie. But I will say, the movie is like. Tell me if I'm wrong on this, boys.
You are.
The movie is like, before the last 6 minutes or so of it, just 3 scenes looping.
Oh yeah.
Like, am I?
No, there's
Yeah,
3 total sets.
It's basically he just keeps trying to get rid of this doll and doesn't succeed at it, and then Maurice gives him a hard time,
Right.
and then he tries to get rid of the doll and fails, and it's just
And then it keeps showing back
this
up.
This movie cycles for a while before it decides to finally just wrap.
Yeah.
It has a few moments of him showing up at the school, walking through the woods. There are weird little scenes in between, but they don't amount to anything besides
Juxtapositions.
some of the did he kidnap the kid?
Oh
because
yeah,
they
well,
talked
so
about
that's
him
what I was
walking
gonna
through.
say too. Is that's maybe the only thing that's being served in some of that is just to try and make you think oh yeah, he's probably the one that took the kid.
This guy rape and diddle a kid before he dumped the body? That's what it wants you to think, and it turns out no, the guy who also looks like he would rape and diddle a kid.
Well, so here's the thing though, you don't know, you're not supposed to know for sure if Maurice
Maurice is even
actually
real
there.
to begin with. Yeah.
See, I thought he was real the whole time. I actually hadn't even considered the fact that he might not be.
Well, if he were real, don't you think somebody in the town would have found him to be a noteworthy character as well?
Who's in the town, Nathan?
Not a lot of. Here's the thing: not a lot of people. So it
Yeah.
should be known that they're
Who lives in this place,
The entire,
So of a population of 8, shouldn't they have
main
known about number 9?
character- The main character has left and then comes back to this town, presumably much older.
Uh-huh.
Meanwhile, theoretically, Uncle has been living in this house that had a
whole
fire in it that is completely dilapidated the entire time.
It's a good
You don't
point.
think somebody would be that's weird.
Sniffing
That's
around
a
and
weird
asking
guy.
some questions.
You guys never lived in a burnt up homeless house?
Oh God, dude,
Wow,
that
bougie.
house.
With cats
I mean,
in
I've
the wall.
partied in a house like that, but
I've
not lived in one.
I think I was
lived in one.
I was more disturbed at the house itself and him sleeping in certain conditions than I was with the puppet at most of the moments. Every room that he was in, I was like, God, there's just mold all over that corner.
Yeah.
Which I guess was more like soot,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it just looked awful.
You know what bothered me more than maybe anything else in this whole movie? I
got a list. I don't know.
Maurice puts that candy, or gives him that candy.
Yeah.
And then he just starts
It's
he starts de-gagging on it.
Yeah, it's like he tried to swallow it whole and it stuck right here.
Right, and I'm like, what is this candy?
Oh yeah, I feel like there's an implication that candy
It's
is
a
like
roofie.
some kind of a roofie or
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a laced something.
Yeah,
where,
yeah.
Are you talking about the scene where the puppet
They burn the
chases?
puppet. No. It's like
I think it's when they burn the puppet.
They burn the puppet outside.
They're burning the puppet in the barrel outside,
Yeah.
and he gives him one of those candies to chew on,
Yeah, and then he
he's
just starts
gagging
choking for the
on it.
longest time.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up
And
eventually.
then you
but
think
he
he's
is
gonna
chasing
die, and he
him.
just goes.
Yeah.
and it rolls out.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Just gross. And I get it sometimes, and this is where I was like, God, Mason might like this. Because there are sometimes you like uncomfortable gross.
This movie was still not even gross.
But this
I
movie-
didn't think it was at all.
No, it's not trying to be a gross
Yeah.
movie.
Maurice
but
looked kind of greasy, but that's about it.
the house was gross.
he looks sweaty, greasy.
Yeah, he did.
It's like, tell us about the fox that you roll in again.
I want to fucking
super
jack
sweaty,
off to it real
yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd like to get off on this real fast.
Yeah, I very much feel like Maurice wasn't real.
You have a good point. I never considered that. I just
Yeah.
feel like he's a
Maurice is-
freeloader. That,
I think that he was
Even
just
by the
like-
end, do you think he's not real?
Yeah, no, I don't
Not
think he was ever real.
I
I think
definitely
this
think
the
he-
whole thing is just him struggling with
The concept of it.
with himself.
Yeah.
well, I was gonna say, and then the puppet. I consider that to be a triumph or a victory for him at the very end because. I mean, this part, right? Whenever his uncle did this,
Yeah.
That is the puppet that he created.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a cool tie-in, but it sucked that it came in the last 4 minutes of the movie.
The movie races through the conclusion that feels like it's building the entire
Yes.
time. It would be like if Avengers Infinity War was and in the post-credits,
no
here's
action
one-
scenes,
none
period.
whatsoever.
Except
It's them doing all this stuff, and then it's just Thanos, and he's like, hey, it's me, Thanos. And then the movie's over. That's what it
I'm
feels
the guy you've been talking about this whole time. that you haven't seen.
Yeah, and they're like, shit. That's good.
They'll be able to get Jonathan Majors back at least.
He's got 52 weeks of domestic violence stuff he's got to go to, but he can act.
Yeah.
In that time, he's just got to go pick some trash. You know?
You gotta wear an ankle monitor.
Yeah, but I think it's really safe to say there's not much to talk about with this movie because I wasn't exaggerating, and you guys agreed. There really is just 3 scenes on loop until the last 5 minutes.
And I think that the director or the writer is trying to be smarter than they were because like even like the little hints of things were so on the nose.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel like I missed a moment of this movie throughout. Like I didn't have to question anything. I was like, oh, he's supposedly the kidnapper because he walked through the woods that one time. I don't know.
And what about the fox?
The fox.
We
was
haven't
cool
even
as
talked
shit.
about the fox.
The fox was cool, and I liked his story. Talking about him being an actor and like how he did it very well. That scene was probably one of the cooler scenes of the movie, and he was just explaining to Morris how they made him like his face get smushed into this rotten fox. I thought that was kind of a good delivery.
Remind me, at one point doesn't he say to Maurice, he's like, we're not related, or like, you're not my... Does he say like...
You're not my dad!
He said it runs in the family. I had a puppet.
And he's like, we're not related. Like, he does say we're not related.
He's his
right?
uncle.
I know, that's he says his uncle
Which is
at the
funny.
end, but he
Let me
says
pause you right there because in the description on Tubi it says a man who has a troubled childhood. What is it called? Basically talks to his stepdad again. So in the description it
with
tells
the spoilers.
him, I
Jeez.
know.
Yeah.
Well, so keep in mind, there are people that write these things for.
Yeah, they're
I was
just
gonna
like,
say
they
yeah,
don't.
for sure.
I'm not watching this movie.
I consider it an error.
Yeah.
But
that's
could have been like he was always an uncle figure. So I don't know.
Tubi be like, after the
Don't call
Avengers
us
get
out.
dusted, like Avengers End, like
Hope you didn't like these fuckers.
Yeah.
They gone.
The best metaphor I have for this movie is that it is a stagnant pond. Nothing happens. It's kind of gross, but it just sits there and doesn't do
I needed
anything.
more spider. So I watched the trailer for this. I don't know if you guys watched the trailer. I was actually like disturbed by the trailer because I feel like they did it pretty well.
I didn't watch the trailer. I only saw that one still image.
And I was
Yeah.
excited from that. I thought like
that.
yeah.
I was like, well,
that looks interesting.
A movie called Possum with this bizarre looking thing.
Alien creature.
And critics like it. You know, I thought we were gonna get something.
I did too.
It kind of gave me a vibe of what am I thinking? What's the Daniel Radcliffe farting corpse thing?
Oh, Swiss Army Man.
Yeah, it had that kind of image where it was just
Sure.
like you're definitely getting more than what you think, and it's going to be more like not like
And it's
comedy
not
funny,
going to show its hand too much.
right?
Yeah.
But it's going to be like here's a ridiculous concept that you're going to be dumped into.
Yep.
Not necessarily like
It might be
again,
dumber by the end too.
not the tone, but it's a ridiculous thing, and I'm like, this is just trauma. I got this at work today. Why do I need this here?
Yeah, this is just a man struggling with some harsh trauma.
Get help, Britain.
Yeah, I don't.
and he's not even going through it in an interesting way.
No.
It's just so boring.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, and like man, just the extreme lack of other actors in this movie.
Couldn't afford them.
Like there's so very few people that he interacts with.
Which is unrealistic. Like you're telling me that
What's he
this
do?
news broadcast keeps coming through to like kind of show him that hey they're fucking coming for this guy.
Here's John Date Raper.
When did you ever see a vehicle driving?
You don't see the news people.
When did you see an anchor ever even talking with a reporter or anything?
I want to see a busty blonde news anchor talking about this.
It
She
is
wasn't
wild.
covering
You
it.
got the guy that ran outside of the school that looked like it had been in spring break. By the way, there's no one anywhere.
It didn't look open.
No.
Even Birdemic had a newscast.
Shut up,
kind of
Bryce.
segment.
Shut up about
I will admit,
Yeah.
Birdemic had a higher
Birdemic
cast.
probably had a
Yeah.
larger cast
Yeah.
in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and ask the question:
Uh-huh.
how many cigarettes do you think were smoked while on film?
While on film.
Well, like, you mean like how many on film?
How
were
many
smoked?
during this
How
movie?
many did they fucking light up and they were just?
No less than 10. They do the scene about
Dude, there
5
was
times,
50.
and 2 of them, you know.
There was
Did you look
50.
it up?
No, I
Oh.
didn't. But that's my bad. They were constantly opening up little things, and this dude just
Are
constantly.
you
had a
going to
cigarette
rewatch
in
them
his
and
mouth.
tell us? Because now I want to know who's closest.
Yeah, Mason.
I think we should
you're
draw
gonna
short
watch it.
straws.
No.
I'll
Anybody
take
want a 25% chance that they have to
I'll-
watch this movie?
I'll
again?
take the straws and put them in my eyes.
Yeah. Price looking up at the eclipse instead, saying, "Sorry, can't watch it."
We just need 4 more straws and we can make our own little spider puppet.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Starring Annabeth as the puppet. We just reenact it.
You know what?
You can spray some water on my face and I can look intense, staring at a wall.
You could be like Morris.
Yeah.
Can you do the shape?
No, I have one more
got
question.
one more
Which
question?
spider was better between my last 2 movies? Hanus?
Hanoush.
Hanoush is actually
Yes,
a good spider.
Hell yeah, he was.
Yeah. I don't know. Can we DQ him as a spider? He's got non-spider parts to him.
Yeah, I mean he's got a human.
So did
ass
this
mouth.
one? This one had a human head.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. You know, in terms of spiders, I think Enemy still probably
Yeah,
has
Yeah.
that's another one of
spider.
mine.
Can we?
God
Is this your new theme altogether?
Imagine,
Movies with
imagine.
spiders?
Yes, imagine I had those 3 on this wheel. And Enemy was number 3, and you guys were like, man, there's gotta be a spider in here somewhere.
Yeah.
Where is
And at
it?
the very end, it's like, I got us.
I mean that
would be
would have
good.
been a really good
I don't
little
lie.
triple to run through.
I would have
Yeah.
gone on board with that theme
Yeah,
over.
it's like,
God,
all right.
I was so mad at the end of that movie.
And you know what? It's all because I'm like feeling jaded about the themes thing. Like, you guys will never give themes to me, so I'm gonna create my own.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what?
Here's
Alright.
my theme, spiders.
Let me cook.
Next, you should do ghouls.
Yeah. You goblins.
I just pull something out of a hat and I'm like, alright, this is the one this month.
Night crawlers.
Across cheese.
Alright, let's get to Fat Dan.
People's knees.
Fat, thin, perfectly fit shape of the movie. Nathan.
Yeah, it's very fat.
It's very fat. Let's just all talk about
We
it.
all
Whoa.
know it's very fat.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This movie.
Whoa.
This movie is cooking for an
Hour
hour and
20
20 minutes before it finally decides to make any headway in its own story.
You're exactly right.
It like genuinely, the last 10 minutes of this movie are the only point at which anything really happens.
And I would say
The
it's
rest of the
halfway
time is
exciting.
just trying to make you uncomfortable, and it doesn't make me uncomfortable, really. Like I get that a lot of people probably end up feeling that way about it, but it just didn't hit me like that.
The only thing I can say about those moments, talking about like the shoe dropping, is like every time, let's say at the halfway point, when something would be building just a smidge, I would still wait for the
Yeah.
but nothing
Never.
kept happening. Just
Yeah.
nothing and nothing. And that's the only reason why I think I got through this movie with eyes wide open, because I was like, this spider is going to latch on. Like, this spider is finally going to come to life, because all you saw was like a leg coming out from behind a wall. Like, that was it.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole thing.
Here's a hot take.
Yeah.
This movie's fat, but would you rather? I got another question.
Okay.
Would you rather watch this and you cannot not do anything else
Okay.
twice back to back,
Okay.
or watch Raw once?
Raw.
Raw.
What? You're asking that to Nathan. You're not
Nathan.
asking that to us.
No, I'm asking everybody.
So I have another question.
Oh
just
my
real
God.
quick. No. Let's do rapid fire here.
Rapid
Which is
fire.
worse, this one or Frontiers?
Frontiers.
This.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think
this is kind of worse than Frontiers.
Frontiers?
Frontiers was at least doing
something was
something.
happening.
You're right. That's my gut instinct to say that's just the worst movie.
Frontiers
This one's
is
worse.
rough.
Yeah,
Frontiers also has
Frontiers has stuff happening. Yeah.
and
It's
it has
terrible,
like
but
some
you can
funny
laugh at it.
stuff
Yeah.
that you can laugh at.
Was there
This
there wasn't
this
a
movie
No.
just doesn't have anything. Like, it's got
Side
a
boob,
weird
maybe.
puppet.
There's side boob.
That's it.
That's
Nathan.
it.
It's a weird puppet, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Frontiers was laughing along the way for all the wrong reasons, but at least
Yeah.
it was laughing, whereas this one is just like, none of this is all that funny or
You
nice.
said your eyes were wide awake by the end of it, waiting for that shoe to drop. I was half asleep, trying to stay awake in any way I could. And then when Marie started diddling the guy, I was like, all right, well, something's happening. And they started spanking him. I was like, all right, well, something's happening. And then I was like, all right.
They snapped. I had to rewind and be like, hold on.
Yeah, that was very abrupt.
Have
So
you-
we haven't really gotten to that point, but
Yeah, we should absolutely.
Maurice, the uncle, he dies very suddenly whenever our main character finally decides to go into the room that he's been afraid to go into the entire movie. The room where presumably his parents died.
And also,
Or he got diddled,
He-
or his parents diddled him
or-
while dying.
or-
like, we're unsure.
you know,
and
something.
while wrestling with Maurice, He called him Morris, but
Morris.
it is spelled like Maurice. I had to have
The
subtitles.
fucking
on.
British.
I had
I hate it.
subtitles on too.
But-
That's why I keep calling him Maurice.
While he's like wrestling, he finally decides that he's actually a grown adult male, and he can actually, I don't know, maybe overpower this 63,
He had a Popeye
65-year-old. Yeah, he ate his spinach.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. It just snaps his neck.
Which is just, it's even worse, because, like, he could have taken him on
Easily.
at any point.
But it's not about that, right? It's the
True,
idea
it's not
that
about it.
he's wrestling the child version of him.
Yeah.
It's him versus
He's
him. It's not him
cowering
versus
because
Morris, right.
that's how he's grown
Yeah,
up.
listen.
It's
You
like
ever
how a zoo can hold an elephant with like a few wires.
you ever fight your dad whenever you were too young and it was like not the right weight class and he still psychologically is winning
Yeah.
even you know if like
And you don't want to mess with him now.
you're like I could definitely take him now. It's just it's a mental game, you know.
That happened to you a lot, Dylan?
Yeah. Price, maybe it did. Maybe this movie's for me, Price.
Maybe he's gonna give it a 10,
Maybe
Price.
it's a 10, Price.
Maybe
Let's get the
Uncle Morris
scores.
is more real than we ever thought, Price.
Well, geez, maybe it's time to go scores. Price, why don't you start us off, buddy?
Yeah. I was just
Slap that button.
I'm gonna
Just
give
like Morris slapped that
I'm
man.
giving my joke a 10. But no, this movie is getting the opposite of that. I hated this
1.
movie.
No,
I would
that's
love to
1.5.
give. See, like my brain is telling me that this movie is like a 1 or a 0.5 because it is nailing the like. I'm not saying it's nailing. Never mind.
It's crushing.
It is. It is. There is an
Absolute
unsettling atmosphere that it has going on. So like at least it's got that. But the reason it has that is because it's just you're just unsettled because you're like something needs to happen. Something needs to happen on the screen to keep me engaged with this movie, and nothing does. It's just long lingering shots on the main character looking out at something, diddling his puppet, diddling the kids.
He gets diddled.
He gets diddled.
Yeah.
It's so awful. So my brain's like, there is some kind of merit to it where it's a 1 or 0.5, but my heart is screaming at me saying, this is a 0. And here on the FM Movie Podcast, we know exactly what we're going with. And I'm going with the 0. I hated this movie. I hated Mason for picking it. I really hated it. It's... Oh man, it's so boring.
It just looks like your
It's
name
so-
says Priso.
Price-o!
That can be my trademark. This gets a Priso
It
because
gets a Priso.
it's just there's nothing of
Can you
merit.
just add it like Price-o?
With one
There's
word.
there's nothing of merit to it. I hated my entire time with it. There's nothing I could get from this movie. Fat 0.
That's rough.
It's weird. It's waste your time. The whole thing of like it putting you on edge the whole time to like because you think that something's going to happen. It's just edging you. It's edging you for an hour and a half.
I don't like to be
Nathan's not
edged.
into that.
I'm not big on it.
Speak for yourselves, boys.
It's weird. Like I get conceptually and like there's maybe some interesting things to be considered in the idea of like if this Maurice guy were actually real, like the very strange dynamic of an older adult man being in the same space as his abuser as a child, like that's really
Doesn't make
weird.
sense.
It's weird to think about that, to think like there could be people in the world that are in like find themselves in that spot. It's like, man, like that's a very strange place for both people to be in.
Yeah.
Just mentally, like that, it's fucked up. It's weird. And this movie, really, it's only got the puppet going for it. That is what sells it. That is basically like that might as well just be the cover image for it. It is luring you in to something that it is not. So I found this movie deceptive, boring, overly long, and it's only an hour and a half. I mean, I never really
I
give
hope you
anything.
burn it out.
I've never really given anything like a solid 0, but I'm probably just gonna give this a 1. This is just it's not worth it.
That was a good, well said review
was.
there, Nathan.
It was.
I'll give you credit on that one. That was
It
well
was deceptive.
I feel like
I didn't enjoy my time with it.
Not good consensus of these reviews normally. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
said. No,
with
that
you.
was well said.
Yeah.
yeah, what Nathan said for the most part, man. But we get into the relativity of bad for me. We get into these like shitty numbers and where does it land over my head on that, and I'm like, all right, mentally, let's go down the tent poles here. I probably watched Lawnmower Man before this, so it's under a 4.5.
I mean, Lawnmower Man.
I would watch Lawnmower Man so many
I would
times
watch.
before
I
this.
would watch director's cut.
Pierce
Shut the
Bro-
fuck up. Do it and then talk to me after. I refuse to hear anybody
Pierce
say that.
Brosnan's shirt off a million times. Monkeys going around.
You guys
with
didn't watch
whatever.
it, and you have never in the years that we've done this show.
I'm just
Shut
saying,
up and go back and watch.
if you're
it.
doing the relativity contest,
And we can always rewatch it.
God damn, I
It's
hate
not been
pathology.
reviewed.
No, it's not.
Pathology.
you hate pathology more than this.
Yeah, pathology infuriates me. This makes me
You're
feel.
nuts.
Here's the thing: it's the argument of like, there's numbers at the bottom, and it's like, are these numbers reserved for hate, or are these numbers reserved for nothing? And frankly, I would rather feel nothing about a movie than hate my
That's a good
experience with it.
point.
I would rather have a feeling than
Nah.
complete.
Not with a movie
blank.
like this.
No, not
this
with-
movie's going to be forgotten.
This is
next week.
This is a forgotten movie. Yeah,
Hey,
this
you
is.
won't forget the puppet. but
And that's a
everything
waste
else.
of time. People in 2 years, you're gonna be like, "Hey, have you heard that movie? Possum? I think we watched that."
No, I'll
Pathology, you're gonna be like, "Oh, I watched that movie. I hated that guy so much."
But just because it left an impression doesn't necessarily mean that it's better.
But it's an
for it.
impression.
Ugh.
Would you rather be forgotten
That doesn't.
or
No, but I
Or
would.
hated.
I would argue. and this is my spectrum price. I'm allowed to have it. Is that
it's my spectrum?
Yeah, it's a spectrum. Everything's a spectrum. Is that if I hate it and if I loathe it and it's like even if I remember little bits of it, I think that's probably worse for me because it's just like if I remember it for the worst fucking reasons and I genuinely still feel like fuck you. What am I can't even now. I'm forgetting the name.
I don't remember.
The wrestler one.
Oh, Foxcatcher.
Foxcatcher. Son of a bitch. Yeah.
Facts.
At least when you say Possum, I'm like, it's whatever. You know, it doesn't ruin my day.
Yeah.
But you said it's worse than a 4.5.
So I would probably put this right around Frontier territory. I don't remember where that landed, but this, like, 3.5 feels right about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like
That's
it.
a stinky.
It's
It
a
is.
bad score. That's,
And
I don't know.
Man, Mason, you picking these bangers this season.
I know.
Starting out
I
strong.
know.
Well, did we roll all of his stuff now
Yep.
too?
Yeah.
75% of the movies that
So
have been
Mason had a
picked.
chance to start us off strong, but on his own
No,
back.
no, I'm doing
No.
something for the people.
He said,
I'm setting the bar
doing, he
low.
said, I'm doing
Yeah.
themes.
Nathan's coming up after me.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing. I have no problem with Mason making the picks that he's made.
Yeah.
Because to me that's the interest
That's-
of this.
His
That's the
average is
autonomy.
coming down to Nathan's average.
Me and Nathan are running for president.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't really want to have the highest thing on it. I think I'm going to match Dylan's point. I agree exactly with what he said.
Uh-huh.
This movie, I'm going to just simply forget about, and that's fine by me. I do think it's easily the worst movie I've had on this wheel ever.
Ever.
Even before the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, Frontiers is the only other competition.
That's what I'm
And
saying,
We said
like-
it's
like-
worse.
Like, I could pick a few where I'm like, yeah, I don't much care. But it's not like, wow, this review is going to be dog shit. Like, so for me, I'd say it's a 3.5. I'll
I know this
match
movie
him.
didn't even have much to talk about. Like
That's what I'm saying.
Like Tank Girl, like I wasn't a big
Looking at
fan of, but
something.
there was a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But
Oh, there was so much. That is a story where this is just
it's
absolutely.
so boring.
I don't
See,
know.
but I just no. Here's the flip side, right? This movie will be forgotten for like 99% of it. Other than I'll be like, oh, that's the one with the puppet and the sweaty guys. But like when you say pathology, there's parts of my brain that, for better or worse, remember stupid shit now.
I remember the
And I
villain in
can't-
that movie. I remember so much.
One
about
day
that
I'm
movie.
gonna forget.
Alyssa Milano.
One day I'm gonna forget
Yeah.
my wife's name, and I'm gonna remember stupid parts of pathology because that part is living in my head rent free. This
Yeah.
movie won't take up space,
That's
and
true.
I hate pathology more for that than this.
Yeah.
Sorry, Hannah.
So
I remember.
Yeah.
the tomato meter, which is the critics,
Woo!
have a 90% for this
90%.
movie. And then the audience score is just a 55%, so it's.
I'm surprised it even got that
that.
out of the audiences, to be honest.
But
But here's my take on audience scores. People who like horror movies want to go watch this movie, and they notoriously have the worst taste in movies in general.
100%.
So they've rated it okay at worst,
I mean,
right?
So Hellraiser is one that's held in pretty high regard.
Right.
I feel like in the horror
yeah,
genre.
that one.
And Hellraiser is not a good movie.
It's not.
It has like a couple of really
Never seen
good
it.
scenes
Yeah,
that
that's
are
the
really
pens,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, like it
It's a cool
has
concept,
its
actually.
moments,
Yeah.
and it's a cool concept. But the movies themselves are not very good. So yeah, I agree. A lot of the horror genre, the opinions aren't really actually very good.
They like a genre that's notoriously bad, and they know it, but they'll tell you that
Yeah.
they don't know.
the horror subreddit was gaga
about this movie.
Case in point.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
there you go. So, Dylan's absolutely.
Well,
Yeah, I don't
when
trust their horror movie
When I
taste.
think of
No.
like
No.
slow burn movies, I don't mind slow burn movies. I think they're kind of fun,
Well,
like the one last week.
Yeah, Spaceman.
Spaceman.
Spaceman is a slow burn movie
And
that is
I feel like you
great.
did it well. Yeah.
Ah,
It's goodish at times.
Ah.
Well, let's not say great
I'm
now.
not gonna say perfect.
calm
Yeah,
down.
I thought it was good.
I mean, after this,
After this, it looks like a
relative
shining
to this,
turd.
it's an Oscar
This
film. but-
redefines slow burn. You think it'll be my spoon?
That was a terrible spin. That was even worse. You just rocked the whole
okay.
thing.
It went twice as far. It's red. It's purple.
Oh, Nathan likes anime
No,
now.
it was
It
on
what?
this.
It did click
it
over.
clicked over as soon as I
Yeah.
turned it. It was on there.
We gotta review the tape, but I'm pretty sure it was
I'll
red.
concede do a respin.
No, it was red. I
It was
saw it
red,
there.
and as soon as I turned it, here's what it did. It was turn.
it did click whenever
You
it
heard it
moved.
click.
It did
Price.
click.
Yeah.
It was red.
Nice try, peanut butter.
Once again, though, that's my slot. I
It's-
just want to say.
It did land on Mason's spot again for what it's worth. Phantom Transportation. Nathan, what could that possibly be?
Well,
Ghost
it could
Train?
be one of two things.
It could be
Ghost ship to Mars?
Ghost
So,
train, ghost ship.
Basically,
It could be multiple things.
It could be, what was it, Ghost Train to Mars?
Oh, no. Oh God, now I'm
What's
forgetting.
that one called?
The
Oh,
one-
Ghost of Mars. There we go.
Yeah, so Ghost to Mars or Ghost Ship.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I'm very torn between these two.
Ooh, so you're leaving it up
He
in the
left-
air. Okay.
Yeah, so this one, like, is there
Ghost of Mars.
Never seen either one.
like,
Ghost
I
of
know you're
Mars.
very on board.
I'm
for
telling
Ghost
you,
of
if you
Mars.
haven't seen it, I think you will really fucking like it. That does not mean it's good.
I'll tell you what. I think we should spin again. And if it falls on the half where there's 3 arrows, then it's 1. If it falls on the other half where there's just 1 arrow and a bunch of writing,
Okay,
then
so
it's the
all
other.
of these, it's ship. All of this,
Yep.
it's Ghost of Mars.
Yeah. What do you think? Well, we have to
Nathan,
establish it
that's your
first.
wheel slice.
I don't care.
Spin
That's
it.
fine.
All right.
All right. So arrows means ghost ship. I just want to see it fall on mine again.
Arrow.
Is it red?
Yeah, it's.
Ah!
Oh my
Let's go.
God.
That's so many spins. Of,
It is,
of
so that's
Mason's.
ghost
That's
ship.
insane.
Yeah, something's
No,
off
it's
about
Ghost of
this
Mars.
wheel.
I'm scattered.
5 Mason slots in a
Yeah,
row.
that ain't right. No,
I'm
we
gonna
got
buy a lottery
I
ticket.
guess we're doing Ghost of Mars.
Ghost
Yeah.
of Mars. Yeah.
All right.
Tune in more for that next week. Meanwhile, we're gonna fine tune this wheel. Something's wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's
It's
got-
my wheel, baby.
Yeah.
Something needs to be
Something's-
fixed here.
Just
Yeah,
oil it
we'll
up.
figure that out.
We'll grease it up. We'll put some elbow grease into it. If you like the content we're doing, make sure to let us know in the comments below. What do you think? Horror movie fans have bad taste?
You think we can spit on it like Morris did to our main character?
I want to spank it like Morris did to our main character.
Get the
Was
belt out.
Was
Yeah.
anybody else a little bit kind of like sad that it didn't go in another
I thought you were
direction
gonna
at the
say
very end?
aroused.
I thought he was going to say aroused.
No.
Yeah, I was
Like
gonna
he
say.
flipped him over, and then I was like, and then he just
Oh,
got
I-
his belt, and I was like, fuck this.
I do think it's strange he didn't just rape him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did feel like the movie wanted to go all in, and it,
Sorry, that's just
Oh
me.
my God, just end this.
at least it would have left an impression, you know. Anyways, that's our.
It's just a grown man being spanked, which is just another thing where I'm like, you can't
Well,
defend
he
it.
was like sticking his dirty
Yours
fingers
in his
down
mouth.
throat.
Oh yeah, he
You
opens
bite
it.
those
Oh,
immediately. No, I
yeah.
will bite those just like
It's
he
like,
should have
oh,
done.
your uncle's fingers.
Yeah.
What you think about those?
This is what I remember. in the
Greasy
movie.
Morris's fingers. Yeah. Make sure to hit the bell if you want to keep watching this very weird content we keep doing. Don't subscribe. We're fine. Anyways, that's our show. Make sure to tune in next week for Ghost of Mars.
Woo! Bye.
Alright, bye.
I just watched so many YouTube videos where they say subscribe at the end.
Don't
And
do
to hear
it.
like don't subscribe.
Don't
is-
subscribe.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah. We went